When it comes to dynamic handheld camera shots, for the longest time, I've thought a gimbal is the only way to go. But with newer cameras with built-in 4K 120 and all that kind of stuff, do you even really need a gimbal anymore? This is the original Ronin S that came out in 2018. And if you're like me, you might be wondering if you should upgrade or not. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the newer gimbals around. I only have this one. But what's happening?
Look at that.
Oh.
That's
perfect timing.
It is so hot in here.
It is.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you needed it because, you know, the video and...
Yeah. No, it's great. I only had this one and now I have this one.
Yeah. I need some water.
Have fun. All right. This gimbal from Sweden, only Sweden's the deal because this is the RS3 Pro. This is the original Ronin S. If you're like me and you only use a gimbal every once in a while and you're thinking of upgrading, is it worth upgrading your older gimbal to a newer modern one?
Oh my God.
Gimbals are really incredible tools, but unfortunately the urge to upgrade when a new one comes out can be really strong. So let's see some real-world performance with the new RS3 Pro.
Right now I've got my camera assistant holding the camera. He's a young, up-and-coming YouTuber, so wish him luck. You should go check him out if you want to.
Yeah.
And he is just hand-holding the Sony a7S III, and we're walking, and there's just the basic stabilization turned on. Depending on what kind of IBIS your camera has, or whether or not it has IBIS, this can give you an idea of what that looks like when you're not using a gimbal and you're just using IBIS. But if we turn on the Ronin RS3 Pro, we can then see what that produces in terms of image. And now, look at this magic. Look how smooth this is with the gimbal, the camera on the gimbal as I'm walking and trying not to fall over here. So, as I've been using the RS3 Pro, the things that I've noticed is that it is incredibly fun to use and incredibly easy to use. The gimbal itself can hold a camera up to 6.6 pounds. The battery can last all day at 12 hours, and the whole thing is carbon fiber. Basically, that means that if you have the old Ronin, this one is just lighter, more usable, easier to use, and better battery life. I had to buy this big beefy handle for my Ronin S, and that gave me a lot more stabilization. The Ronin RS3 Pro comes with a handle that easily attaches and detaches, which gives you the option to do underslung mode if you want to hold the gimbal down low, but that's also, underslung mode is an undersung hero, because what it lets you do is just have an extra point of contact to even get more stable shots as you're using the gimbal. Also, look over here. It's the Queen Mary in this royally awesome video. And another thing that helps you get your videos in ship shape is the fact that the motors are like auto calibrating. So you have to balance the gimbal and you can do these micro adjustments that are really easy to use. But after that, the gimbal itself will calibrate the motor so it works perfectly every single time. And because it's so lightweight, you don't need these massive biceps to use the gimbal for a long period of time. You can even have my arms and use it for a pretty extended period of time. So while it might sound like I've grown into the idea of upgrading the Ronin, very crucial to really assess your workflow and your needs before you make that purchase decision.
And of course, even though cameras have come a long way, there are just some things you can only do with a gimbal, certain shots and movements that you can't get with anything else, like the infamous 360-degree barrel roll.
So when it comes to the 2018 original Ronin S versus the brand new Ronin RS3 Pro, speaking of pros,
It's one of the worst surfaces to roll around in.
you gotta just, you just gotta be careful who you invite over.
Hey.
Hello.
I'm just gonna join you here.
Yeah, all right.
Take some time, but
I like this. We've got our gimbals. There, we got gimbals here. Ronin S.
yes.
We both had it at the same time.
Yes. We bought it at the same time.
Yeah, when it came out. And it was amazing.
It was.
And I've never used another gimbal since.
I have.
Gimbals fit pretty well into your workflow. So
Yes,
what are your
they do.
thoughts on gimbals and how practical they are?
Gimbals is definitely a helpful thing because it makes your shots look a special way. It makes it look more like movie-like. But it's also one of those things that is clunky to bring with you whenever you're on the go. And it takes time to set up. That's usually the thing.
Yeah.
That keeps you from getting the shot and be in the moment.
So if you're still wobbling back and forth on your decision of whether or not you should upgrade your gimbal, now that I've used a few, here are kind of some things that I've noticed and maybe you can kind of like pitch in. So when it comes to the original, setup is entirely, well, I don't say entirely different, but very different and a lot faster.
For sure. On this gimbal, you have the carbon fibers such as you had in the RS2.
Yeah.
But it's also auto lock. So the gimbal locks itself into place, and then when you start it up after you balance it, it's gonna unlock.
This one is just floppy all the
Yeah.
time.
So like
This is a nightmare to travel with.
it is. Like when I was traveling over here, I just tore it down
Yeah.
into different pieces, and you packed it down, and then you put it together, and it's a quick setup. You get the shot. It's easy. It's simple. And then you also have the touchscreen, which lets you calibrate the gimbal.
And if you if you haven't used a gimbal in 4 years like me and you jump into a new one, it's like the fact that if you have the camera up and you just want to go to like underslung mode or low, that's it. You just put it in that.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't have to switch.
The difference
anything.
with this though compared to this is that like that was designed for a one-man operation. This can be connected so that you can run an entire crew.
Yeah.
Like you can have a wireless transmission, you can have focus puller, you can have everything just connected into the gimbal and sending like a wireless feed to someone else that is actually doing the job, controlling the gimbal.
Yeah.
You are just the actual operator of said gimbal. That is the entire ecosystem of the RS3 Pro.
It's almost like it's professional. Like,
Now that you've been trying out,
Yeah.
because we were out shooting with these last night, what do you think? Like, what is your opinion on this old gimbal versus this new high-tech? Smack
yeah, well, obviously when something new comes out, the thing that already exists just becomes garbage and is obsolete right away. Totally not the case. So here's a couple things that I've learned. This is better in every way. The thing that I am impressed though is this gimbal that's been around for 4 years still works just as good as it did on day one 4 years ago.
It does.
I'm really surprised at how well it holds up, and it emphasizes how much of what you're doing with it depends on you. I think someone in your position, you're making all this different kind of stuff all the time. Gimbals make a lot of sense. Staying on top of the tech makes a lot of sense.
I would not be able to use this.
You
gimbal
wouldn't.
today.
This would really hurt your workflow.
Yes.
For me, like speaking 100% honestly, how much I use a gimbal and what my workflow is, I would love to have that because it's better. But this is totally fine. So the money I would spend upgrading would be way better spent elsewhere, and this is more than fine with me. So I personally have no plans to upgrade because I have this and it's totally fine.
What if you were to buy a new gimbal today though?
If I was starting from scratch, if I didn't have this and I was just like, I think it's time to go for a gimbal, absolutely I would start there, especially seeing how long this lasted.
Yeah.
4 years ago and it's still really good, and that was like attempt number 1 at this kind of gimbal.
It is pretty cool.
So the one that you're getting 4 years later, it's going to be kind of pricey, but you're going to get it and it's probably going to stick with you for a really long time.
My personal opinion is that when it comes to gimbals, the latest is the greatest.
Yeah.
But it all depends on like, when did you get yours?
If you don't know who this person is, by the way,
Hi.
this is Peter Lindgren from Sweden. Peter from Sweden.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out Peter's channel, if somehow you're here and haven't seen the, go check out Peter's channel. He's amazing. We've been friends for years at this point, and it's been awesome to have you here, and it's been really cool to see how you use the gear in a very real way, because in the world of YouTube, it's very easy to watch videos where everyone's talking about new gear, but then when you see the stuff actually being used in a real workflow by real people in real ways, you see how it stands up. And the key thing to emphasize is everything is great, but it's all about your workflow and being honest with yourself. I would rather take the money I could spend on that and put it somewhere else, because that's going to benefit my workflow better. Yeah. But that might not be the same for everybody. And if I had unlimited monies, I would just buy all the gimbals. So
yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you. Tom does as well. Don't forget to subscribe to his channel.
That's this one.
Yeah, subscribe.
This is me standing here while Peter goes over there, talking about dynamic gimbal shots. He's so far away. I think you're good. I think you're good.